Welcome, friends, in the part second of collection development policy with special reference to electronic era. Well, friends, here we know about the collection development policy for electronic era. Electronic information resources need to be selected, acquired, catalogued, and available, preserved, but in drastically different ways from traditional print format. With the digitization of books, documents, journals, and other form of material, modification of policies would take place. The policies set for published could be modified accordingly. The entire philosophy of collection development need to change as a simply duplicating the collection practices evolved for print materials in the new information network environment is not adequate, and technology related factors have to be incorporated as they would affect the selection of material. Budgeting has to be modified, include the hardware and the software costs. The collections the collections librarians now have a large and a more complex set of resources from which to select. The resources range from various of books, journals, encyclopedias, and sound to digital version of these in variety of format such as CD-ROM, digital videotape, to online digital journals, e-books, etc. Then the electronic collection development issues, policy issues include for following questions. This is a very important thing to develop a e-resources collection development policy. Take into consideration these questions. What technology infrastructure would support? First one. The second one is what skill is required by library staff. Then third one is what is the right balance between the print and electronic resource. Then fourth one, how much resources would allocated to acquisition of electronic resources. Then fifth one, what about archival and licensing of e-resources. Next one, what about access. Next one, how do we receive our collection development management policy to reflect the new emerging and challenging environment. Then these are the questions are very important to develop any e-resources collection development policy. Then the collection development policy for resources findings. These are the findings of e-resources collection development policy. The first one is availability of e-resources, selection tool for e-resources, criteria for selection of e-resources. Then technical aspects considered while selection of e-resources. This is a very important thing in e-resources collection development policy, that is technical aspects considered while selection of e-resources, acquisition of e-resources. Then another one important thing is that is budget also. Then the pricing options, there are a lot of pricing options, online mode, offline mode, NEFT through bank and all these things. Then licensing agreement. This is one of the most important thing in e-resources collection development policy. In e-resources collection, that is licensing agreement is a important thing. Then the legal issues. Legal issues are also important thing. Evaluation aspect considered before pre-acquisition of selection of e-resources. Evaluation is also important thing in acquisition of e-resources. Include the e-resources collection development policy. Verification of bibliographic information for acquiring e-resources. Then the pricing options for acquiring e-resources. These are the pricing. These are the findings of e-resources. Then the electronic collection development policy sample. The important point which must be put under electronic collection development policy, that should be the electronic collection development policy introduction. The electronic resources presents a number of challenges, not only selection and acquisition, but also the access of management of such resources. The library to develop clear policy and processes for the selection and management of such resources. This will provide clarity of staff and ensures that e-resources within the library are developed with due consideration of cost, technical feasibility, licensing access and preservation requirement and consortia. Then the purpose, then the definitions. State here the definition of electronic resources, then the mission of that particular institution. Then the general selection policy. This one is a very important thing. Who will be the responsible for selection of information? Selection responsibility must be mentioned here. E-resources collection development committee comprising of a library in charge, various heads of the development library and faculty members. The head of the electronic resources must be responsible for financial maintenance. Then the subscription account, beginning new products to the attention of collection development committee and maintaining list of current subscription, that is selection of e-resources, tools used for selection of electronic resources, opinion from experts, faculty, trial offered by the publishers, trial offered by the vendors, then publishers catalog through vendors, then review in electronic periodicals for the journals, inquiry with existing vendors websites, then publishers domains in seminars, conferences, observation of the other university library resources. Then the criteria considered for selection of e-resources, that is user needs, awareness about the trial version, peer-reviewed articles in journals, consideration of professional awareness of electronic resources, vendor credibility, anticipatory use of electronic resources purchase, archival facility by vendors, availability of update back volumes data. Publishers' reputation is also most important thing. Duplication of existing resources in different packages. Technical backgrounds of publishers. Then the full text of availability through web pages, full text of back volumes, search capability, language of electronic resources, literature availability format, that is PDF, text, etc., HTML, availability of source in a print format, if you already subscribe the print format. Information literacy program by the vendor subscription. Then the selection of vendors. The vendor should be reputed and well-known company who will provide services. He is willing to support the entire requirement that a library want to subscribe the product. It must be provide quick response to the customer quicker and give the technical support to the library. Vendor must provide training program to the library staff and users. That is also one of the most important thing. Then the formation of a committee. It is suggested that the librarian must constitute a committee. The members may be head of the department, technical experts, and the electronic resources experts. Before the committee, new products decision which is to be subscribed should be taken. By filling the information in the form of librarian can put the before committee. Librarian must insist for trial access before acquisition. The committee have to write to negotiate with the vendors, publishers for the electronic resources. Then the technical aspects are so important thing, the e-resources, that is access concern, authorized users, authorized sites, then the method of access, then the archiving policy and perpetual access also important thing in acquisition of e-resources, in the policy of e-resources. Then the institutional archives, then the self archives, then the specific selection criteria, that is organization, access and support, accessibility, access through library website, access through authentication user ID, access through deliver by the web. It is vendors providing remote access to their product, that is mode of access, single user, multi-user, then the IP based, all these things. Then the licensing aspects is also important thing in a collection development, e-resources collection development policy. Then the resource for termination, reason for termination of access. Then the interlibrary loan conditions, perpetual use, then renewal terms, then the cancellation terms, dispute, then the legal issues, terms of payment, grace period, governing laws, resource providers authorities for provide access. Then the dispute resolution, legal issues, term of payment, grace period, governing law, then the resources provided authority to the provide access, budget issues, evaluation aspects, accessibility procedure, verification of bibliographic information, pricing options, and all these things. Then the ordering and acquiring the product, management of electronic resources acquired, preservation, review of policy. Then last one is a deselection. That is one of the most important thing. Deselection, that is weeding of electronic resources. Then the last one is a policy review. Also, time to time policy review is also important thing for the e-resources collection development policy. These are the most important things consider in a collection development policy. Then last one is a conclusion of this session, this chapter. E-resources offers enormous benefits to the end user, ability to work at our own place, convert to access, cost and time saving, easily update contents, and with emerging technology it can be made more effective. Digital resources are affecting collection development policy. It has been neglected so long in a library. It has remained understood that often library lacks e-resources collection development policy, which seems to be not sign of good business, as a Johnson state that libraries without collection development policy are like business without business plan. The policy should be must for libraries for qualitative collection development in a library. The last aim of any library, is to satisfy its users, and that should be only done through a good collection development of a library. The librarian should acting according to the policy. This is all about the e-resources collection development policy. Thank you, one and all.